This video is designed to help anyone who's having trouble with the exploration from section 4.4 for the honors pre-calculus class. We will deal just with numbers 1 through 5 of this exploration. So make sure you have the sheet in front of you, and we will get started with number 1, dealing with simple interest. So for number 1, we have $1,000 going into an account that's going to pay us 8% annual interest. And we've been asked to figure out how much money are we going to have after 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, and then 50 years. So, this problem is actually very similar to one we did in section 4.1, where you're just figuring out the interest at the end of the year. Why don't you go ahead and see if you can get that amount, and then you can check your work with what I have. At least I'll put up my answers for the first couple of years. Okay, so check and see if this is what you got. Okay, so you can see that for 1 year we end up with 1,080 because we just take the $1,000 times 1.08, and then we're going to, for the second year, going to take this amount, 1,080, and multiply it by 1.08 to get the 1166.40. Of course, the same thing, that's doing the same thing as taking the original 1,000 and multiplying it by 1.08 twice. So we just have 1.08 squared, right? So that's probably the quickest way to get there from the 1,000. One other amount we want to check on is at 10 years. So check and see if this is what you got for 10 years. All right, so here's what we have after 10 years, and you can see the total amount there. We'll use this amount for comparison purposes later on in this exercise. Now let's go to number 2, where we're going to be determining the interest more than once a year. All right, so now here in number 2, we're going to be compounding quarterly, which means we're going to be figuring out the interest 4 times in 1 year. And so instead of charging 8% at the end of the year, what the bank is going to do is simply charge you 2%. Okay, 8 divided by 4, they will charge, as it says, they're going to charge 2% 4 times out of the year. Okay, 4 times, I can't write with this stylus. I lost my good stylus. So 4 times per year. All right, so why don't you pause the video and figure out how much money you would have after a quarter year and then a half year, and we'll go from there. Check and see if this is what you got. All right, so instead of multiplying by 1.08, you can see we're going to take our $1,000 and multiply by basically 1.02, right? I'm dividing the 0.08 by 4, and that gives us $1,020 after just a quarter year of the year. And then if we do it again, take that $1,020, multiply that by 1.02 again, which is the same thing as multiplying 1,000 by 1.02 squared, we will get $1,040.40. You might be wondering why I keep writing it this way, but this is really setting up a pattern that we want to see, because at the end of this this part here, we want to figure out what would it be, how much money would we have for T years, right? So let's check out. You want to do it now for 1 year, and then 2 years, and then 10 years. And then let's figure out what it is for T years. All right, so pause the video, try that, and then you can check with what I have. Okay, so here it is for 10 years. We're still taking the 1,000, multiplying by 1.02. That's what I have here. And then did you raise it to the 40th power? Because remember, we're doing it 4 times to get up to a full year, but then we got to do that 10 more times. So we're going to raise our money to the multiply our money by 1.02 40 times. And that does give us $2,208.04. You may recall, if you look back at what you did for simple interest, after 10 years we only had $2,158.92. So this is definitely better by almost $50 just by figuring out our interest 4 times during the year instead of doing it once at the end of the year at 8%. So this is making money for us. I'm going to let you figure out what it would be for T years, but if you think about it, we're just replacing our years, which was 10 here, by T. So pretty much the formula is staring you in the face, except for the T in place of the 10. All right, after that, let's go on to number 3, which is compounding interest monthly. Hopefully by now you're seeing the pattern pretty clearly, that if we're going to go to compounding our money monthly, which of course is 12 times in a year, then that of course is going to affect where we were using this for, right? Okay, this is what we should have for T years if we're compounding quarterly. So now if we're compounding monthly, all we really need to do is replace that 4 with a 12. Which gives us, there we go, we have replaced our 4 with a 12, and there's our formula for compounding monthly. And now very quickly we can jump and do number 4, which is saying, well, what if we were to compound n times per year? Instead of 4 and 12, of course we're just going to replace those numbers with n and end up with this basic formula here. And this is the formula that you're going to use to help you complete the table in number 5. Why don't you pause the video right now so that you can read number 5 at the bottom of the first page, and then I'll have some tips for you as far as entering information into the calculator. Before we try to use the lists and spreadsheets page of the calculator, let's first understand what role this 1 plus 0.08 over n raised to the nth power is playing. When you compare it to the general form for an exponential function, I think it's pretty easy to pick out that the a must be the 1,000, right? And of course the t is still t over here. So that means that everything else in this formula, and that would be this 1 plus 0.08 over n raised to the nth power. That is your b. That is your growth factor. So now your table is going to have 3 columns to it, as you can see. Num just being the number of times that we're going to compound in 1 year. All right, growth fact is just going to be your B, your growth factor, and then 10-year amount, just I wanted you to have a way of comparing money amounts that you would have when you do the different compoundings. So, for each of the different number of times that you're going to compound, you'll be able to get a number for your growth factor and for your 10-year amount, and be able to compare and see what happens as you increase the number of times that you figure out what the interest is in 1 year. All right, so pretty much you can just follow the instructions, on the table. It kind of tells you what to plug in for growth fact, and of course you're going to do that on the, on the second column of the table. So the top column of the table, not the column, sorry, the top row of the table is going to have the name, and then it's in the middle row that you're going to type the formula, right? So now there's no formula for the num, all right? So you don't need to put a formula. You don't need to put a formula into this box here, but you will put the formula that's listed there in your on your sheet into this box for growth fact. All right, and when you need to call up num, as you can see, you're supposed to enter num as twice into that formula. You can either just spell it out, or you can go to your variable button, your vars button, and find it there. And then the same thing over here. Of course, over here, since you already have your b, or your growth fact, you could use that as your variable. In other words, your formula here could be equals 1,000, and you could just say times and then spell out grow fact, or get that from the vars button, right? It's kind of hard for me to write it here. I've got a poor stylus, but grow fact, and then you're going to raise that to the, to the num times 10 power right here, but I've run out of space to write that in there. All right, and then you should get your numbers, and you can just kind of write them onto the sheet, so that when I check it, you'll get credit for doing it. I hope this video has helped you if you were having difficulty understanding the directions, and when you come back to class, we will pick up right from the table and move forward. But certainly feel free to ask questions that may have come up as you were doing the sheet.